Coming up on episode 124 of the Behind the Back podcast. Look at this, side by side. You get the whole camera angle of both of us guys. We're switching something up here, and we're also going to be screen sharing our March Madness bracket. We're going step by step, pick by pick, game by game. You can let us know if your bracket is the same, but stay tuned as we dive into March Madness here on BTB. With that being said, y'all, let's get it. All right. Welcome back to another episode of the Behind the Back podcast. We are your hosts. I am Marcos Conan-Negron, and beside me here, as always, is Ben, the Jet Reds. Ben, we switched things up a little bit.
Did.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. This is a different setup for us, but for today, it's gonna be perfect.
Yes, and because we have a special March Madness bracket, we got to fill out. We're taking you guys along for the ride. So if you guys have made your picks, you would have made your picks at this point. Everyone's picks will be out by the time this episode comes out, I think. But we're gonna take our crack at it, and it's gonna be fun here. We'll kind of talk about it as we go, but we're gonna fill out this bracket. But before we do, I wanted to give you a shout out for coming this weekend. We did a baby shower gender reveal for myself and my wife Delia. We talked about it last week, and we found out we're having a baby girl. And I will throw up the video from that moment because it involved me shooting a plastic basketball through a hoop.
You made it,
and I did make it, and it was the most pressure packed shot of my life. A nice easy layup, but it worked out perfectly. So check it out here. 3, 2, 1. So yeah, awesome time. I'm glad to have you. Glad to have you and Daniela there. My family was there. They surprised us. It was a really good time. So I just wanted to give you a shout out for coming.
dude. It was special. Like, I've never been a part of like a baby shower where you find out like the gender at the shower. So that was really cool. I wish you did your signature floater. I wanted to see the float game because too many times we've been playing one-on-one and you just cook me with that floater. But it was a nice shot, and it's wonderful to know that you're having a baby girl. She's gonna be beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, wifey and I are really excited. We get to meet her in just 2 short months, so it's gonna be really crazy here in the next few weeks. So with that being said, we're going to get down to business. So give us a second here. We're going to pull up the official BTB bracket for March Madness. So, shebang. All right. So we're here. So Ben and I are going to do this in kind of a different way. We're each going to go through, we're going to go one by one in each of these categories. We're not going to try and spend too much time on this because it's a lot of brackets to fill, but we're each going to take turns. Each pick, one of us will have the final say, and it's up to us to trust each other that the other guy is making the right decision, even if it feels bold. So if we're feeling an upset, advocate for it, see how we feel. So I'll let you kick it off here with Duke and Siena. We'll start in the East. Benny, what are you thinking?
Dude, this is a no-brainer in my opinion. Like, you got to take Duke. I think Duke is, there's a good argument that they're the best in the tournament. They're definitely one of the best. And this game against Siena, I don't think is going to be that close. And when you look at, the matchup analysis here, presented by CBS Sports, it goes to show, like, even you look at the record versus the top 25, which is something I'm going to focus on a lot as we kind of dig through this bracket. It's not comparable. So I'm taking Duke.
Absolutely. And Duke is going through some injuries right now. They're missing Caleb Foster, and I forget their big guy's name. I'm going to butcher it if I say it, but he is a really vital part of their team too. So they're going in there undermanned, but they got a top 3 pick with them in Boozer, and it seems likely that they're going to come out on top here. So we have Duke moving on. So next up, we got Ohio State, TCU. This one, when we look at the matchup here, we got 2 good conferences here, the Big 12 and the Big 10. Both these teams played in really tough conferences with really good teams in it. I personally, speaking, I have a bias towards these Big 12 teams. And I really like these 9-8 matchups because they really do produce really good games. I'm feeling TCU over Ohio State in this one. And I think my main argument for it here too is, again, we got the record versus the top 25. They played around the same amount of games. I know the strength of schedule is a little different, but again, when we look at the conferences, the Big 12 has been the best conference in the league this year, just from the talent standpoint and who they're going up against. When you got BYU, Houston, Arizona, you got all these teams in there. And TCU has been the hotter team, obviously, and when you look at their last 10 games. So I kind of want to ride with that momentum for TCU. So that's what I'll be picking.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that you pointed out, go back into that analysis, you pointed out that the last 10 games, TCU's kind of been the team that's been cooking. So I think that's really important when you kind of factor that in, how hot a team is going into the tournament. So in this case, I agree with you. I think I'd take TCU.
All right, so we have TCU facing Duke in the next round. So let's keep going here. We got St. John's and Northern Iowa. What do you feel about this matchup, Eddie?
So, I mean, you look at the strength of schedule, and this is a huge gap, right? You got 21st strength of schedule versus 111th. And when you look at what St. John does offensively from a points per game perspective, like it's not even close. So in this matchup, go down to so you got the last 10 in there. So yeah, St. John's has gone on a heater right now. I'm taking St. John's based on what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and you got Rick Pitino out there coaching. They were really good last year, and they definitely got upset last year in the tournament. I think they'll definitely have a bounce back. So we'll have St. John's moving on. Now this matchup here, Kansas and Cal Baptist, is interesting. Now, Cal Baptist, when we look at this team again, they had a good record, 25-8, but they're in the WAC conference, so it's, the strength of schedule is not comparable to Kansas, right? Kansas has Darren Peterson. They have a lot of great players on that team, and obviously they beat Arizona at Kansas. But Kansas has been up and down, and obviously Darren Peterson has drawn a lot of drama this year. And what's special about Cal Baptist, what makes them different, is this guy right here, Dominique Daniels Jr. If you talk about a player who has the ultimate green light in college basketball, it's this guy. And so seeing Darren Peterson versus Dominique, who's a senior, and he's very crafty. I sent you highlight videos of him, and I was surprised with just like the way he moves is different.
Yeah.
And I do believe that they're going to have a battle in this game. So I think that it's going to be close. I think this one would you could sway me. I wouldn't be surprised if this was the upset. But Kansas is healthy. Darren Peterson's he has to fight off a lot of people, a lot of negative that would come from him losing this game. And I think his draft stock is worrisome if they lose in round one, especially to this team. So I have Kansas moving on just for that sake. But I think it's going to be a really fun matchup.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I was very unfamiliar with Dominic's game until you sent me that highlight reel, and I dug in a little bit deeper. But I will say, if you just look at it from a tournament perspective, Kansas to go out in the first round against a team like this would be it would be tragic for them in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Based on how this season's played out, the guys they have on their team, specifically Darren Peterson. So, I just don't see a scenario where Kansas loses this game. I do think it'll be close, but I think in the end, you're going to see Darren and Kansas really come out on top. So I agree with you. I'd take Kansas.
Absolutely. All right, so we move on to Louisville, South Florida, and we got news this morning that Michael Brown Jr., the star guard for Louisville, will be out of this game.
That's big.
And if they win this game, he'll probably be out of the next game too. So this definitely adds a little bit of intrigue when we talk about this matchup. So knowing the news now, does that sway you at all for USF maybe pulling off an upset?
It makes me think about it a lot more. Otherwise you'd probably pretty easily chalk in Louisville as a win, but I think this is going to be a closer game than otherwise. So I'm kind of in between at the moment, and South Florida's cooking in their last 10. They're 10-0.
Yeah.
Louisville, 6-4 at the moment. And this really is kind of a toss up in a lot of ways. I'm feeling an upset here.
Yes.
Do you feel an upset?
I'm feeling it too, dude. I think there has to be one here in this early bracket, and I don't consider the 9-8 one too.
Yeah.
I think Michael Brown, is a focal point of that offense, and I think to have to adjust now would be, it's going to be difficult. And I think, South Florida being on the heater might actually have a chance here. So if we're rocking upset, I'm down too.
Yeah, let's do it.
Heck yeah. So we got South Florida, first upset here at the BTB bracket. Hopefully that sticks through. When we looked at Michigan State and North Dakota State, when we pull up both of these teams, North Dakota State playing pretty well this year, but, again, no, their strength of schedule is just tougher. Michigan State is a proven, Tom Izzo coach team. They usually have a nice run in this, in these tournaments. Um, and they've been playing well as of late. I know they recently lost to UCLA in a really tough game in the Big Ten tournament game
right.
here, but I still think that Michigan State will come out on top here. North Dakota State's going to put up a good fight. I like their record and everything like that, but I think Michigan State has too much talent over here.
Yeah, well, and North Dakota State just hasn't seen a team in the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, that's kind of something you got to consider when you look at, the first matchup for them being against a team like Michigan. It's just, it's going to be a huge test so early for them, something they haven't seen all season. So I think Michigan is the safe choice here.
Absolutely. Then we got two good schools here, UCLA and UCF. So when we look at these, we got the Big Ten for UCLA and then UCF here in the Big 12. What are you feeling about this matchup?
This is gonna be another close game.
Mm-hmm.
And these are two teams who, going in aren't necessarily hot. This is the kind of matchup where it's gonna come down to the wire.
Mm-hmm.
UCF is one of those upset teams. They're a team who constantly you have to consider as being the upsetter. And in this case, to be honest with you, just based on kind of looking at the points per game, looking at the opponent's points per game and such, like I'm feeling another upset here. I'm feeling like UCF has got a good shot at this, and UCLA right now just being kind of where they're at in the season and going into this thing, I just feel like it's an opportunity they could drop.
Absolutely, and I think UCLA came off of a big Big Ten tournament win against Michigan State, but UCF has surprise teams. They almost beat Arizona. They kept up with BYU. Like they have the ability to get hot and stick with these teams, and I think UCF is going to play their best ball too. So I'm down to go for an upset here and pick UCF. And then we got UConn and Furman, and honestly, I'm feeling UConn. UConn has some injuries. When we look here, they got some injuries we got to pay attention to. But Furman, I think we never know with these 15-2 games. We've seen it happen before. But UConn, being the back-to-back champs, I just don't see them losing in round one.
It's UConn.
Yeah. So now we got the next portion here. So we'll pick back up in round two after we finish round one here. So let's go to the South and let's start with Florida at Prairie View. I have a ton of confidence that it's going to be Florida, but I don't know.
Yeah, no, we don't even really need to talk about it.
Good luck to Prairie View here, but Florida, they're the big dogs in this tournament. Yep. I'm feeling confident. Clemson and Iowa is going to be a fun game. I think when we look at these two teams, Iowa just hasn't had a good record against top 25 teams when we look at it here. That does matter. Iowa is a good team. I mean, we've had good players come from Iowa. They're a good shooting team. And they definitely, are efficient on offense when we look at their, field goal percentage and things like that. And Bennett Sturts is one of the names you're hearing in the top 10. So I think that if you want to go with, okay, Iowa might be struggling, but can the best player carry them here? I would have confidence in Iowa over Clemson in this matchup. I think me personally, if I'm picking, I would feel Iowa in this matchup. But I don't know about you if you're feeling Clemson in this one, or do you trust that Iowa might be able to pull this off?
I don't trust either way.
Yeah.
I think this is another toss-up game. The tough part is for me right now, like that 1-8 record versus the top 25. And then if you go deeper, you look at the last 10 games, 3-7. It's a little bit of a cold streak heading into this tournament. And that's not to say that, Clemson's on a heater either. But, I feel like at this point, you got to take kind of the player who's going to matter the most here, and based on what you're looking at right now with these two key players, I think Bennett's got the opportunity to put this team on his back at least in round one. So I think let's take Iowa.
All right, so we'll hop on Iowa here. So now we got two interesting teams. We got Vanderbilt, who just beat Florida in the SEC tournament, so that's like a huge noteworthy win, and we got everyone's super popular tournament team, McNeese State, who's known for their boombox guy who comes out every game. I forget his actual name, but they're a hyped up team who 28-5 is a good record. This I think will be a fun 5-12 matchup. So what are you feeling here for these two?
I mean, in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be that close. I actually think that Vandy's got a pretty good shot at this. I know McNess is I mean, look at that. They're cooking going. I knew they were cooking. I didn't think they were 10-0. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
I still feel like Vandy should be able to win this game, no problem. From the matchup perspective, and you look at the last or the wins against the top 25, like 7 games against top 25 for Vandy and just 1 game for McNeese in the top 25. So you got to factor in obviously that strength of schedule and things like that. I just feel like Vandy's got the upper hand in this, and there would be my pick.
Yeah, and when we think about these kind of matchups, the 12-5 is always an interesting one because these are the matchups where there's usually at least one each and every tournament. There's one of these 12-5s.
Sure.
But I think that what stands out with this matchup in particular, Vanderbilt, I'm looking at the points per game. I'm looking at the fact that Vanderbilt can just put up a ton of points. We'll be looking at a lot of these teams in the tournament, and they have good points per game margins, but they're a little bit closer. I see a nice gap here with Vanderbilt, and I think that if it came down to a shootout with McNeese, which McNeese has a nice high-powered offense too, I just feel like Vanderbilt has what it takes to come out on top. They seem efficient, and again, they just beat one of the 1 seeds, so you they can do it. So I'm feeling confident in Vanderbilt too.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so we got Nebraska at Troy. Fun fact about Troy, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander's cousin is actually on this Troy roster, and he's their guard. So when we think about the players here, he's not one of the guys listed here, but he is a player on that team. But when you look at Nebraska, they're hurt. They got some injuries here, but they still have Price Stanforth. This is going to be an interesting game. But I feel Nebraska's had a really good year, and I think that this one is a pick that we don't have to overthink. I think Nebraska's got this one.
Yep, I agree.
So then we got North Carolina at VCU. Obviously North Carolina without Caleb Wilson, so it's hard to, without their top prospect in the fold. But it looks like VCU has some injuries as well. But when we look at these teams, Ben, how are you feeling?
I mean, it's tough because, if Caleb Wilson wasn't out for the season, you'd feel pretty confident in this game for them. It makes you think about it a little bit more. And I feel like this is going to be a close game, especially you look at, the points per game there. VCU's got the upper hand. And as far as the opponent's points per game, it's dead even. So, defensively, these are 2 similar teams. Offensively, these are still 2 similar teams. I think it's going to be a close matchup. The last 10 games is where I'm feeling there could be an upset.
Really?
Which is crazy because North Carolina's still got some ballers outside of those injuries. But I think it's going to be close. It's another Kansas situation for me. Okay. Where it's kind of hard for me to say that they'd go out that early. They're not. I don't think that they'll make it past round 2. I think the injuries will catch up. And I think just, matchup wise, it won't work out. But in this case, I think there's a potential for an upset, but I feel like North Carolina's probably got this.
All right, then we will hit up North Carolina. Then we got Illinois at Penn. Illinois and Penn. So Penn got in here by winning their tournament, had a up and down season. They are 9-1, so they finished on a heater, right? So, but Illinois has Keaton Wagler, they have Andrei Stojakovic, they have a really good team, and they play in the Big Ten. That's just a tough conference anyway. Yep. But they have been one of the most efficient teams all year. You look at their offense and points per game versus the opponent's points, and that's a really big gap. And I think that matters when we talk about this matchup. And I think Keaton Wagler is just going to have a takeover game in round 1. I don't think it's going to be close. I think Illinois will take it.
Agreed.
All right, then we got a fun one here, St. Mary's and Texas A&M. What are we thinking here when we look at these 2 teams?
Texas A&M, man, that offense, I mean, they can cook. It's going to come down to how good a defense St. Mary's can play. And you look at, the opponent's points per game that they only allow, 64.6. So they're a defense heavy team. If they're able to stop Texas A&M, scroll down a little bit for me. Keep going. Rashawn Aggie.
Yeah, no really names here.
No big names. I think in this case, I would probably lean St. Mary's. Just from the defensive aspect. And then the fact that, they've played some tougher teams as well, and the strength of schedule and so on. So I'm leaning St. Mary's, but it's kind of a toss-up because it's another 7-10.
Yeah, and I feel confident in St. Mary's. I think that they have They just recently beat Gonzaga. That's who, in their conference, who they play. That's kind of their big dog. But St. Mary's has always just been a consistent team, and they play super fundamental, and I trust them in this spot against Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So then when we go to Houston and Idaho, this is going to be Houston. I think, Houston has been a perennial, Final Four team, and I don't, I have a lot of confidence in them going into it. They're healthy. Obviously, they had a tough loss in the Big 12 tourney, but they've been consistent all year long, so I think it's Houston.
Yep.
All right, and then we're going to pivot on over here to the West. So obviously, I'm smaller right now, but you guys saw early on in the show, I am wearing an Arizona jersey and a classic Derek Williams jersey that I just thought was too important not to bring out, and it's a shame. So you have the opportunity to create the most massive upset here if you were to pick the winner between Arizona and LIU.
And I'm feeling the upset, to be honest with you. No, Arizona's cooking. This is one of the better seasons that we've seen in a minute from this team, from the school. And I think that it would be absolutely tragic if this team went out and lost the first round like this after a year that they just put together. So it's Arizona.
Yeah, I think Arizona just has too much firepower. They got healthy at the right time. They had those stretch where they lost those 2 games. The only 2 games they lost this year were without Koa Pete and Aristode. But now they have everybody back. They played really well. They had Jaden Bradley hit a game winner in the Big 12 tournament, the championship game. So they're coming in with a lot of, the vibes are impeccable right now. Could this be the year, Arizona, they just struggled to advance since, their recent, their success in the late 90s, early 2000s. They haven't gotten past the Final Four or gotten to a Final Four since 2001. So when you think about some of these Arizona teams that have come along, they've had opportunities, and I think that things lined up really well for them. I like where they're at on this side of the bracket. There's a couple teams we got to look out for here, but I really like Arizona, and I'm feeling confident. So then when we go to this 9-8 Utah State Villanova, Utah State has been one of the best mid-major teams in the league. Villanova's no slouch either, but I actually feel really confident in the way Utah State plays, and they do have a track record of performing well in the tournament, so I am leaning towards Utah State in this one.
Yeah, I would take Utah State, and if you go back into those the analysis here, look at the record versus the top 25, and obviously, Utah State hasn't seen a single in the top 25, but Nova 0-5 against top 25, which makes me kind of question how deep of a team this can be,
right?
Especially in a big stage in a big moment. So
yeah,
I think in this case I'd probably lean Utah State with you.
Heck yeah! So we got this matchup coming up in round 2. That'll be a scary matchup for Arizona, but this was the one I wanted to kind of bring to your attention here. High Point and Wisconsin. Wisconsin, is a high-powered offense. They have, what makes Wisconsin special is their 3-point shooting. They're one of these teams that can spray and pray and get hot. And if they get hot, they're almost unstoppable. But High Point, one of the best mid-major teams we have out there. It's like Utah State, their strength of schedule doesn't say much, but overall, they're a really talented team, and have been on kind of the trajectory's high up on them. I think that if there's a 12-5 upset that people are going to pick, I think it would be this one that we're going to see the most of if I had to bet on which one would get selected the most on.
Interesting. I would say, like, if I didn't hear any of your breakdown prior to, I would have taken Wisconsin probably without even necessarily batting an eye at it. And a lot of that has to do with that strength of schedule. But, the points per game is no joke, right? But for me, this is the last bit I'm going to throw in before, and I'm actually going to let you make the pick.
Oh, okay.
But this is the last bit I'm going to throw in. So strength of schedule for High Point is 317, right? Versus 29th for Wisconsin. The points per game isn't that crazy of a difference.
Correct.
And Wisconsin has been playing way better teams in the stretch. So from that standpoint, like, they're seeing better defenses and they're still able to put up that kind of a number.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like Wisconsin's definitely got the upper hand in this matchup, and I think I would still lean Wisconsin on it, but I'm going to leave that final choice for you.
No, so I like what you said there too. I think that it's an exciting pick to make for the 12-5, but
I think it'll be close.
But Nick Boyd is a talented player too. Like he's gonna be able to step up on this stage. So trust me, I was really intrigued on picking this one, but I think if we're trying to do one here where we feel like what we feel most confident in, I think I would totally be okay with picking Wisconsin.
Let's do it.
Okay, so we'll do Wisconsin, Arkansas, Hawaii. So Arizona's on the side with potential future Sacramento King Darius Acuff Jr. as they take on the Hawaii Rainbows. This is going to be a fun matchup. Hawaii, won their tournament to get here, so they are, performing well. But Arkansas also had, an awesome showing.
They did.
And Darius Acuff, dude, he's special. I think it took a minute, but I think there's an argument to be made now. You could probably convince me, like, if it was him or Kingston Flemings and the Kings picked Darius, I probably wouldn't even bat an eye at it. I think he's that special of a player. And I think against a Hawaii team that their defense is like the way they play their defense is the way that Darius Acuff can take advantage of. I think they're gonna try and challenge him, and I think he's ready for the big stage. And I think this is gonna be a big moment for Darius to really just. I won't be surprised if he drops 40 in this game. I think like it has like that kind of vibe to it for me. So I would pick Arkansas here.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me question it a little bit is if you scroll up and you look at the defensive numbers from these two teams. Arkansas doesn't play great defense.
No.
And that definitely shows. In a game like this, I think it's still safe to pick Arkansas, but as this tourney goes on, that's going to be something to definitely keep an eye on. So I think in this case, let's take Arkansas.
Perfect. So then we'll move on to another fun matchup here featuring the potential future number 1 overall pick, AJ Devansta, as Texas, we just watched last night, hit a game winner to secure their spot here. So do you think, with this being your pick, do you think that momentum from that first 4 game carries over into this game now that they kind of got the nerves out of their system? Or do you think that could propel them to a win over BYU, or do you think that AJ's just going to come out red hot?
So I'm a big momentum guy, right? I feel like momentum is a big thing, a big factor in games and so on. And if you look at that, that's great that you scroll down. Like they're both teams are 5-5 going into this tourney. But yeah. Like the last night's, Tuesday night's game for Texas and that game winner is huge to come off of. And they're going to be riding that. So here's kind of my analysis on this game.
Okay.
And I'll take it into my pick. I think early on, it's safe to say that Texas is going to have a lead. I think they're going to come out cooking. I think they're gonna ride a lot of that early momentum. And I think that, they're going to kind of surprise BYU out the gate. But as this game gets into halftime, gets down the stretch, I think you've got to hand it to the team that's just got more talent up and down. And that's going to go to BYU. So I feel like BYU is the pick here.
Yeah, and for those, the matchup to look out for is obviously going to be AJ Devansta, but Dylan Swain is a guy who has NBA level size. I think that, like you said, I think Texas is going to be able to surprise them early, especially with all these injuries that BYU's had to go through. I think if you talk about a player who could one-on-one guard Devansta, at least make things difficult for him, it is Dylan Swain, because of his height and his strength. He's a big dude. So I think that this is going to be an interesting game, and I wouldn't be surprised if people pick this one as an upset, especially if they're submitting it the way we are after they've already played and we kind of got to see them in that moment. But I will pick. I think BYU will still be the pick here. I think AJ's gonna he's not gonna go down without a fight, and I expect a big game out of him.
I don't want him to, man. Yeah. Like I want to see more AJ in this tournament. Like I'm really looking forward to a lot of these top guys and seeing what they're capable of. So yeah. I'm pulling for BYU in this early stretch.
Heck yeah, let's go. So then we go to Gonzaga and Kennesaw State. This is gonna be an interesting one. I just think it's Gonzaga.
It's Gonzaga.
Gonzaga's been here, done that. They're a team that's a threat to get to the Final Four each and every year. BYU Gonzaga is going to be electric round.
It's going to be fun.
All right, we got Missouri and Miami coming up next here, Ben. What are we thinking here? Miami coming out of the ACC. Mizzou, been an up and down team in the SEC who got in after a good tourney performance. So what are we thinking here in this matchup?
So Miami's the hotter team going into this. And when you look at the offense versus defense breakdown, these are two very similar teams. So what it really boils down to for me, if you scroll up a little bit to that games against the top 25, both teams struggle, but I feel like this could be a game that Mizzou takes.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, out the gate, if they're able to surprise Miami, we've seen a mix of Miami going out early, and we've seen a mix of Miami going somewhat deep in the tourney.
Yeah.
Not too deep. But, this is going to be a fun matchup. I think it's going to be close, and I just feel like Mizzou's probably a pick for me.
Perfect. No, I'm totally with it. Let's get this 10 here for Mizzou. We'll have them move on to the next round. Then we got Purdue and Queens. Purdue has been on the end of a 15-2 defeat before when Zach Edey was a part of that roster. So I know that this game, seeing that 2 seed is probably a really, a sore spot for fans of that team right now. But I do think Purdue, obviously Braden Smith is one of those top talents in this in the college basketball playoffs. I think he's just one of those guys who will be able to win them at least a game or two in this scenario. So I have Purdue moving on.
Yeah, and this is a different team than that Purdue team that lost 15-2. Like, I think that this, in this case, you take Purdue.
Heck yeah. So then we go down to the Midwest here. We're making through these picks, guys. We're doing great. So we got Michigan and Howard coming in. Howard won their first 4 in game. They had momentum. They got their first taste of the tournament. So do you think that'll be enough to propel them against the number 1 ranked Michigan?
No, Michigan.
With the Axel Luxembourg, we'll see how he ends up in his tournament action here. Then we got Georgia and St. Louis. These are this is going to be an interesting 9-8 matchup. St. Louis has some tournament pedigree. I think their defense is legit. I mean, the numbers just show it here. You have a very wide gap. But obviously they play in the Atlantic 10, so it's not as strong as the SEC. But Georgia, while they are also a very high-powered offense, so the conversation here is, do we think which defense do we trust more? And obviously Georgia has played the top 25 teams being in this, in the tough SEC. But me personally, I always just seem to lean towards the 9s, but I haven't picked, I don't know, I forget if we picked an 8 on the last one here, but yeah, no, we didn't. So I think we had 9 here, we had 9 here, and we had 9 here. So I feel like for the sake of the bracket, I
think we got to take an 8.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It feels weird having them all 4.
But it's interesting. So go into the analysis here, scroll down to the last 10. So both teams are doing the same thing.
6 and 4.
What do the injuries look like?
Then we just got the 1 here for
Georgia's fully healthy.
Yeah. But it looks like going into it that St. Louis has been the second best 3-point shooting team in the nation. This is their national numbers. And they've been they're the 6th most efficient offense.
So that's not nothing, because if you look at Georgia's defense, they're allowing damn near 80 points per game.
Yeah.
Right? And against a 3-ball like that?
Yeah. Did we just say F it and do?
I think we do
it.
Yeah. I feel like this is almost the best 9 choice.
Yeah, that we've gotten so far. No, that's a great point. So, all right, we'll roll with the 9. Now, we go to an interesting one here. Texas Tech and Akron. Now, Akron has surprised teams before.
Yes, they have.
In the tournament. They play really well in the tournament. Texas Tech is missing one of the nation's best players in JT Toppin. They've been dealing with some injuries. And I kind of buy this as a 12-5 upset if I had to pick one. Now, will I be surprised if Texas Tech blows this team out of the water? No, because they're a good team. But I also think that I feel like Akron might have some juice in this one. So I if I wanted to pick a 12-5, we got to have at least one, and I don't think we picked one yet. I would bet on this one. I think this one would be a pretty good pick.
Yeah, I mean, Akron offensively is a team. They're putting up 88 points per game, and you're missing 21 points per game on Texas sides with JT being out. That's not nothing. So I feel like, if you're gonna take a 12-5, upset here, Akron might be the one. Yeah,
and what's really going to stand out here is when we look at these two offensively is if Texas Tech can come out and maintain this 3-point shooting percentage, then this could be a game that they'll probably be in control of, right? True. But Akron has been the more efficient overall team. It seems like Texas Tech lives and dies by the 3. Especially without JT now, they really have to rely on their guards a lot more. So do you feel confident enough for me to take the 12? All right, let's do it. So we'll have Akron moving on. Alabama and Hofstra. This is an interesting one because Alabama just lost their second top leading scorer. because he got arrested for marijuana possession. He had 2.1 pounds of marijuana on him. Crazy before
Wow.
in a huge
Right before
spot.
the tourney.
Right before the tourney. It's so weird. I don't understand.
Yikes.
But so he will be out. But both of these teams, Hofstra is coming off of a heater, but a kind of up and down season for them overall in a smaller conference. Do we, imagine that this team, maybe with the drama around Alabama, but LeBaron Phillip is one of those lottery guys to pay attention to. This is a tournament moment for him where he can take over a game, and it will be up to him if Alabama wants to have a deep tourney run, especially with their second leading scorer out now. So do we think that Hofstra has enough juice to potentially beat out a lottery pick, or do we think that Alabama has shown us enough to warrant picking them in this one?
I think Alabama's shown us enough just to at least take them in this round.
Yeah, so then we'll rock with Alabama here versus Akron. This will be an interesting round 2 matchup when we pair it. So we got this Miami, Ohio, and Tennessee game. So it has both of them. What is the score? So we're the game's happening right now, so we can kind of get a grasp of whether it's Miami, Ohio, or SC.
So Miami, Ohio's up 10. It's 60-50 with 10:50 left in the game.
So it's still potentially doable, but Miami, Ohio, they've been the slept on team, the underrated, overrated team, I guess is what I would call it. And Tennessee obviously has some, talent on that team. With Nate Ament on there, and Gillespie is also having a really good season for them. And it looks like here that Miami, Ohio has been going through some injuries too. And people are skeptical of their Cinderella run through their conference where they just, they went undefeated. And being 8, but they lost in the first round of their tournament. Like the first game of their conference tournament, which was a very, honestly, I think it was a good place for them to lose if they were going to lose their first game, rather than have to carry an undefeated streak in here.
Sure.
But do we think they have enough juice versus Tennessee that has Gillespie, that has Ament and other dudes on that roster?
I think Tennessee's just deeper, and for that reason, and the fact that my parents are out in Tennessee, shout out mom and dad.
Yeah,
I'm gonna take Tennessee to the first round.
Heck yeah! So we'll pick Tennessee. Moving on, then we got Wright State at Virginia. I don't want to overthink this one. This feels like a Virginia win. Shout out Wright State. Good luck to y'all. But we're definitely kind of feeling Virginia off the rip here. Yeah. Then we got an interesting one, Kentucky and Santa Clara. It's not the Calipari Kentucky that we know and love. But Santa Clara obviously plays in a inferior conference, but they have faced some top 25 teams. Their strength of schedule, might not be the same level as Kentucky, but it's up there. So when we look at some of these numbers here, is there anything on here to potentially sway you one way or the other?
I mean, Kentucky traditionally is a team that likes to put together a deep run, but like you said at the beginning, like this isn't the same Calipari team. And so from that standpoint, like I'm kind of looking at where I'm really focused. Scroll up a little bit. Is really the strength of schedule and then the record versus the top 25, and both struggle in the top 25, but Kentucky's just got a little more experience playing some of those tougher teams, and so I think they're going to be a little more battle tested. Than so I just feel like Kentucky is the choice here.
Heck yeah! So we'll have Kentucky move on to the next round, and for our final pick of the first round, we got Iowa State, Tennessee State. Iowa State just suffered a crushing loss to Arizona off of a buzzer beater in the Big 12 Conference Championship, but they are a team capable of making a deep run. Obviously, they're missing a few of their guys here, but Momcilovic and I know I forget the other guy's name. Iowa State is talented and loaded.
Super talented.
I don't see a 15-2 upset this year. I think Iowa State's going to be able to take this one on.
Agreed.
So we'll pivot way back up to the east side here for round 2. Now we're starting to break down these matchups and get closer. We're halfway there, guys. Thanks for sticking with us. How do you like our picks so far? Let us know if you've been yelling at us from the screen on how terrible they've been, or if you're right there with us. So we got Duke TCU for round 2. We don't know a lot of this Duke. What we're projecting from Duke is that they're still going to be hurt. Which guys will come back during the tournament?
Yep.
How healthy are they going to be for this run? But with this being your pick, how are you feeling about a Duke TCU round 2 matchup?
I feel like Duke's got the upper hand by a good amount. And if you look at those at the analysis there, like it just goes to show kind of just how much more battle tested Duke is in this situation. So I think they're the safe pick here.
Heck yeah, so we'll go Duke. Moving on to the Sweet 16. Then we got a fun one, St. John's and Kansas. I think if I'm picking this one, I think I'm picking St. John's. Like I know it's Darren Peterson, I know the record, but I think that St. John's is a really well coached team. Not that Kansas isn't either, but I think that there's a little bit more juice to this St. John's team. I think Darren Peterson's going to play a good game, but I trust that St. John's going to be able to come up with a few more big plays and surprise Kansas in round 2.
I like it. Let's do it.
Heck yeah. So we will pivot on here to the next one. We got South Florida, who we had upsetting Louisville, going up against Michigan State. Do you think that they upset again in round 2?
No, I think they've got enough for one upset, but seeing a second upset against a team like Michigan State, who is just, who's having a really good year like this, I don't see it happening.
Heck yeah. So we'll get Michigan State moving on. Then we got UCF and UConn. Do we think UCF has what it takes to upset UConn? I want to say yes, I really do, but I don't think that this is an upset that we get in round 2. So we'll have them moving on. Then we move back down here to the south. We got Florida and Iowa. How are we feeling?
It's Florida, bro. Like this is probably the most talented team going into the tournament. And I think it's like Iowa is putting together a decent year, but you're running into a buzzsaw here.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll have Florida move on here. Nebraska Vanderbilt, I think, is going to be a fun matchup. I kind of want to pick the 5 seed here to set up a Vanderbilt Florida rematch because I think that would be a really good rematch. Although Nebraska would, I think if this game's going to be an awesome game from start to finish if this was the matchup. But I do think Vanderbilt has just a tiny bit more juice. This is as close as you can get when we talk about some of these comparisons here with how well they've performed. But I think Vanderbilt kind of beating the teams that they've beaten recently, I think they're the hotter team. And I think they'll be able to pull this one off too.
Yeah, and they've got enough offensively to make life really difficult for Nebraska to even keep up. So, yeah, I think they're the right choice.
Heck yeah. So then we got North Carolina and Illinois. How are we feeling about this one?
This is gonna be an interesting matchup. I think this could be down to the wire, one of those buzzer beater type games if this is the matchup we get. But like I was kind of talking about, Caleb, that injury, the injuries to UNC in general, I just feel like they're not going to have what it takes to get past Illinois in this case. So I think they could be an exit in the second round here.
Perfect. Then we'll have Illinois moving on. Now we got St. Mary's Houston. Now this would be a fun one. I think St. Mary's has what it takes to make this a game.
Yes.
But I do think that it's going to be Houston, and Houston was probably going to win this one by 8 just because they just have too much talent. But the next round is a questionable one here for those two. So we move on to here, Arizona, Utah State. I think this will be, a fun one because Utah State, we talked about a red hot mid-major team. They're one of these teams that can light up the scoreboard. But I think that Arizona, against these mid-major teams, what Arizona specializes is their size. I think that they are just going to be so much bigger than this team with Krivas and Pete and Owaka. They have size to just overwhelm this team. And Utah State can stay in it if they, if they shoot the lights out and they keep it up offensively with Arizona. But I think with Burries and you got Bradley, you just got too much going on for Arizona. I think that it'll be a close game at half, and then Arizona's going to pull away in the second half.
Yeah, and Arizona's far away more battle tested than Utah State, right? So, in that case, I think it's a pretty easy choice for us to get Arizona here.
So we have Arizona advancing to the Sweet 16. Let's hope this actually happens. Ben, who will they meet? We got a tough matchup here, Arkansas and Wisconsin. And I know, so I've been leaning all 5s here for these 4 matchups. And I want to get your take on this because you just mentioned it last one, right? Like, do we think that the defense will get in the way of Arkansas being able to potentially keep up with Wisconsin, who can be a red hot shooting team in a shootout? And do we think Nick Bolton? Yeah, go for it. Do we think like Nick Bolton I think that was his name, right? It was, if you scroll down, Nick Boyd and Darius Acuff are going to have this will be a superstar showdown for the college level. So I think that it's going to be an electric matchup between the two of them. But I think if I had to pick, my gut tells me Arkansas wins this one and moves on.
Yeah. You know what it does for me? What does it for me is the 3-point percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And in Arkansas being 10th in the nation, shooting 39%.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, it's going to be tough for Wisconsin to keep up if that percentage holds true.
Yeah.
With that being said, yes, Wisconsin has the better defense, but I think I'm leaning with you. Like, I feel like Arkansas might have this in the bag.
Yeah, so I think Arkansas will advance to the next stage to face Arizona, and that will be a very fun matchup. And then we move on to BYU and Gonzaga. So, again, BYU, AJ winning round one is what we have, but Gonzaga being that team that always seems to find their way to make a deep playoff run or a deep tournament run. Do you think that AJ has what it takes to overcome injuries and beat a really solid Gonzaga team?
I think he has what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to be deeper than just AJ to get this job done, right? I mean, Gonzaga is traditionally a dominant school. They like to go deep in these tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to see Gonzaga in any situation going out, right now. So I think it sucks. But I think we got to roll Gonzaga on here.
Okay.
And AJ's run comes to an end.
I love that. So we have Gonzaga moving on. And, to your point too, Gonzaga, Mark Few, I mean, he's coached them for, so long now, and there's nothing that he hasn't seen.
Yeah.
And, they've won a title too, so it's just one of those things that you trust that pedigree over the pedigree of a number one pick who's shouldering everything for that team. So, yeah, that's an excellent pick. So we got Missouri, Purdue, a little bit uninspiring because we picked the upset, and I think that Purdue is more talented than these guys. So I think Purdue will be able to move on pretty easily here. Now we got Michigan, St. Louis. This will be, I think, a fun matchup, but how,
Michigan.
Yeah. unless St. Louis comes out red hot, they're going to have to, but this.
No, and that's a great point. Like, the only chance they really stand is coming out electric. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to start hot and get this thing, going early.
Yeah.
But that's the only chance they'd have.
Right. So they'd have to beat the staunch defense from Michigan. So we'll have Michigan moving on to the Elite Eight. Come on now. There we go. And now we got Akron, Alabama. This one I can see Akron making a fun little Cinderella run, especially if the guard from Alabama is still, suspended or arrested at this point. I don't know if he comes back in this tournament. So will Philly have another insane game against Tabari Johnson? It's going to be a guard v guard battle, so I think that it'll be able to go toe to toe. This offense for Akron is much more efficient. They play a more efficient style of ball. Yeah. So I think that it kind of just fell in their laps, this kind of matchup. Yes, Alabama has the experience against the top 25, but part of me and their offense is awesome, but their defense leaves a little bit to be desired. And I kind of want to take a Cinderella run for the for the Elite Eight.
No, and that was kind of where I was going. Go back into that analysis. The thing that I'm hung up on and that scares me is the fact that Bama can put up 91 points in a game, right? And you look at the defensive side of things, like Akron is far inferior to what Bama can do. Mm-hmm. But look, man, every bracket has to have a Cinderella run.
That's right.
And I think for the sake of how this thing is going, we got to take Akron here.
Yes, I love it. All right, so we got Michigan and Akron going to the Elite Eight. Tennessee, Virginia is going to be an interesting one.
Yeah. This
one, I actually do feel that UVA has been awesome this year, but I kind of want to pick Tennessee in this matchup. I think that Tennessee has a little bit more firepower. I know that Virginia, they're normally a staunch defense, but again, this is about as close as you can get for a 6-3. And I know Tennessee's kind of had an up and down year, but I think if they win round one, that they kind of will get on a hot streak, especially going up against potentially Miami of Ohio, that they're going to test them a little bit right out of the gate. So I kind of want to pick Tennessee in this matchup. I don't know about you.
I'm down.
Heck yeah. So we'll go on to Tennessee. Then we got Kentucky, Iowa State. I feel pretty confident about one of them.
Iowa. 100%.
Iowa State moving on. All right. We're moving on. We're getting close, guys. So we got Duke and St. John's is going to be fun. If Duke has more injuries here, we got Caleb Foster, oh yes, and Ngongba, that's the guy's name.
Yeah.
It was just announced that he was
right.
going to be out too, and he's a very important piece
Yep.
to this team. So I don't know how long he's going to be out. If he's not back by this point, and they're facing St. John's,
It's going to be tough.
There's an argument to be made. Like this could be the potential upset run for Duke. Would I bet on that in this bracket? No, but I don't know about you.
No, and that's where I'm at. Like, to think that Duke would go out in the in the Elite Eight like that, it would boil down to the injuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's really what the story would be. I feel like in this case, like, I just feel like the safe pick is Duke.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be shocked by a St. John's.
St. John's,
victory.
yeah, but we got to pick the right pick. So I think it's fair to make the safe choice here. Michigan State UConn will be a very fun, interesting matchup. Now, do we think UConn has what it takes to win 3 in a row? And that could, could their run just end here, especially with, this injury to Jalen Stewart here? Would that be enough for them to, I don't know, lose in this one? Because both of these teams have pedigree. Both of these teams have championship experience.
Yep.
Like, this is going to be an awesome game.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to lean Michigan State in this one over UConn. This one is more of a gut feeling than anything, because I think it can go either way.
Well, and that's what you got to go with, right? I mean, like, this is going to be another one of those matchups that's going to be tight from the get-go. And I don't see either of these two teams, dominating the other and winning this game by more than, say, 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
So I think here, let's go Michigan State. I like that pick.
Heck yes. We will move on to the next one here. So we got Florida Vanderbilt. Do we think that Vanderbilt has what it takes coming off of they won in the SEC tournament?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't just like a normal, conference game. So they won in a big spot on a neutral site against Florida. And do we think they have what it takes to pull off that upset and do it again?
I mean, this would be the first real test for Florida in this tournament. And I think that Vandy's definitely got what it takes to pull an upset here. But for me, it's another one of those situations. It's hard to see a team like Florida go out at this point in the tourney.
No, you make a very valid point. I think it's going to go down to the wire, and I'm okay with taking Florida here. So if you're feeling Florida, I'm down.
Yep.
So we got Illinois-Houston, and I think that this one's going to be a fun matchup, but I think Houston's going to take the cake.
Yep.
I think, again, when we look at these numbers, I don't want to sound, this is going to sound biased. This is the Big 12 bias kind of talking, but, like, Houston is a Final Four team. Like, they've been there, done that over and over again, and Illinois has improved over the past few years. But a guy like Keaton Wagler, Kingston Clemens is a perfect counter to a player like that, and I think that Houston will be more prepared for this kind of moment over Illinois, so I would have Houston here.
I like it. Let's do it.
Okay, so we got Florida-Houston going down there in the Elite Eight. So we got Arizona-Arkansas. Now, the conversation of, I think the defense runs out here. I think the way Arizona plays, they're a team that, the stat that they like to throw out on TV all the time is they made more free throws than all the other teams that they've played against have shot combined.
Oh, wow.
They've made more free throws combined than all the other teams they face have attempted. So Arizona's a team that's physical, gets downhill, it's going to cause foul trouble. They don't like to shoot the three, but when they do, they are efficient. And they have shooters around this team. You're going to have Jaden Bradley, Braden Burries going up against Acuff. I think it'll be a fun, it's going to be an electric matchup. But I think Arizona has too much talent to lose in this spot. I think this is the year that they really do push. Darius Acuff is going to give them problems. I think it's going to be a battle to the end because he's going to keep them in it. But I think Arizona has won too many of these games before to, and they're in full strength. They haven't lost against a ranked team when they're full strength. So I think that it's just hard for me. The chips kind of fell for them to play a team like Arkansas, whose defense isn't their strength, and Arizona can kind of overwhelm them, I think.
Let's do it. Let's do Arizona. I like it.
This sounds very biased, but guys, I do my homework on Arizona because
I wonder why it's biased.
Exactly. So this is a fun one. Gonzaga, Purdue. What do we think here? Do we think Purdue, has what it takes to get there? And I know Gonzaga, like, don't be fooled by their strength of schedule. It's Gonzaga. Like, this is a team who's been there, done that. Do we think that they have talent? It's not like Graham Ike is a good player. So they have what it takes to disrupt a team like Purdue, who has been inconsistent in some of these big moments. So do we think that Purdue pulls it out, or do we think Gonzaga has what it takes to pull off a technical upset?
I'm feeling Gonzaga.
I am too, dude.
There's just, and it's more gut feeling than anything because this is another tight matchup.
Yeah.
But I just feel like Gonzaga's got what it takes to go deep in this tournament. Purdue has shown some flaws throughout the year where it's like, some of the bigger stages, some of the bigger times, and they just don't come through. So I feel Gonzaga here.
And Arizona-Gonzaga is always a fun matchup. We get these a lot here in the tournaments, so this is definitely one that I would be excited for. Now we got Michigan and Akron. I think we have our Cinderella run ending here in the Sweet 16. We have Michigan going here to the Elite Eight. I don't mind that at all. Then we got Tennessee, Iowa State. Do we think Tennessee has what it takes to upset Iowa State? Because Iowa State's an amazing team.
Yeah.
And I know the 5-4, 4-5, like, again, another close profile by this point of the tournament. But Iowa State, they can beat anybody. They just have, some of the cards haven't gone their way in some of these games. I would feel more confident with Iowa State here, but if you're feeling Tennessee, we can do that too.
No, I as much as I would love to see Tennessee win this game, I think Iowa State's just got a deeper team. They've got more stars. They've just got a better season going right now. So I think Iowa's the pick.
Heck yeah. So now we go to the Elite Eight. So who do we have going to the Final Four here? When we talk about Duke, Michigan State, this is going to be tough because if both these teams get here, again, what's the injury situation looking like for Duke? It's hard because I want to say Michigan State has what it takes, but I do think that Duke's strengths are not Michigan State's. They can attack their weaknesses a lot better. Michigan State would have to come out firing on all cylinders, which is totally possible, but I think Boozer might be able to overwhelm them in this matchup.
So let me ask you this. Do you feel like this is a gut feeling because we can never anticipate this? Do you feel like Duke's injuries are still going to be a point of conversation at this point?
Yeah.
Because that's what it boils down. If they still have these injuries, anything similar to this, I'm taking Michigan State.
Yeah,
personally,
that's what makes it tough,
right?
Because they could have him back and be then Ngongba back and be just fine, but not have Caleb the rest of the way,
right?
And Caleb, but they could make a deep run and it could be him. So it's hard. Like, what do we think is the safer pick in this scenario? Because so you said Michigan State. I wouldn't hate it. We have a lot of brackets. I'm sure other folks have their own brackets.
Let's do Michigan State.
Okay.
I like an upset here.
We're going to zag here, guys. We don't have Duke going to the Final Four. We got Michigan State. Now, who will Michigan State face? Will they face Florida or Houston? What are we thinking about this one? I think we can kind of collaborate on these ones now that we're getting a little further. If it's me personally, I think Houston has what it takes. But
interesting.
Florida has the size. Like, the size advantage goes to them, but Houston is an incredible defense, and Florida already sucks at shooting threes. That's just not their thing. Like, when you look at, they're 31% from 3-point, and Houston has what it takes to be not only an efficient defense, but an efficient offense. And they have forwards to go against Thomas Haw. They have the guards to make, with Kingston Flemings, they have the advantage there. Obviously the big men are probably going to be more in Florida's favor, but Houston is a great defensive team. So I think that Houston has what it takes to make it again to the Final Four.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I feel like this could be a Kingston Fleming's legacy game, college legacy game. You get me? So I think getting the upset here would be really big. So I think let's take Houston.
Okay, we'll rock with Houston here, and then we got Arizona Gonzaga, and I want your honest opinion here, but I do think Arizona has what it takes to beat Gonzaga this time. I think that they have. And again, those games, these two teams play each other close all the time, but different coaching trees too. Tommy Lloyd actually came from this Gonzaga tree, so this would be cool. So he coached under few. He was an assistant for a while there, so he gets that pedigree. A lot of the same things. So it would be a very evenly matched game, I think. But I think Arizona just has more talent.
Yeah, I think this is the year for Arizona that they make that run, and especially at this point, if they're able to, find consistency throughout the tournament, like we've seen them throughout, the year so far, and just continue doing what they're doing. I think Arizona is the team to take here.
Heck yeah! So we'll have Arizona going to the Final Four. That'd be so cool. And then we got Michigan and Iowa State. Now, this would probably be, I mean, actually, they're all pretty tough. These are all going to be really awesome games if it does turn out this way. I know it feels like it doesn't sound creative 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-3, right? Or 1-3, 1-3, but I think that, these teams are awesome. And you can make an argument either way. Like, Iowa State would be an amazing matchup to get here.
Yeah.
But I think Michigan has been the better overall team. I think, if we want to talk, they're 31-3. If we're talking about top 4 teams all year long, it's been Michigan that's been up there too. But Iowa State could surprise. But I think if I had to make a bet on it, I would lead Michigan here.
Yeah, I think Michigan's the right pick.
Oh man, this would be so cool. All right, so we have now made it to the Final Four here. We got Michigan State and Houston on one side, Arizona and Michigan on the other. So in this matchup, Michigan State and Houston, I think Houston makes it again to the championship game.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
I think that Jeremiah Fears Jr. is the star over here in Michigan State, and then it's going to be him and Kingston Flemings going back and back. Both teams have some injuries, but I love both coaches. You could sell me either way. Actually, this is tough because I guess it's more biased for me. I trust Houston's defense more. Coaching, I think Kelvin Sampson and Tom Izzo are comparable. I think they both have the same level of legacy here on the college level. It'd be hard. It'd just be hard. I think the stage that Houston went through this year was just a little bit rougher, and obviously the strength of schedule doesn't back that up. But I think that, again, this is as close as you can get, but I think Houston has played against better talent and has looked better, and I think that they can beat a team like Michigan State. But Michigan State can beat a team like Houston too. So we can. This is we're collaborating a little bit more on this, but you already know what I'm leaning for on one side. So if you want to make the decision here, I'm cool with it.
No, I mean it's a toss-up game, and I wanted to get your side of it. And it's tough because Houston has shown up in the bigger games this year. And really the defense for Houston is kind of where I'm like, they could make life really difficult for Michigan State.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, where I'd kind of be banking on is a defensive heavy game in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And if you're picking that, you got to go Houston. So,
well, then we'll rock with Houston going to the championship game.
Wow.
Now we got Arizona, Michigan. And this would be the game of the year. If this is unbelievable resumes, about as even as you can get for two top teams. So, I just think we got to go Michigan, bro. I'm just kidding. So this is going to be tough, right? Like, do we think that this is the year? I know they have Yaxel Lendenberg. He is a lottery pick. One of those guys slated in the late lottery. They have good size. They have their center is Mara. He's a really talented player. He can operate in space. He's good at DHOs, and he's a really good passer. So him and Krivas are almost going to cancel each other out because they're both 2'7", bigs. So it's not like it's going to be very even size-wise against these two teams. So it's like, who do we trust more in these big moments? And they've been in big moments all year long. So these are the two teams when you said, like, as evenly matched as can be. Obviously my heart and my jersey and what I'm wearing right now leans Arizona, but there's an argument to be made that Michigan could, make it to the title game here.
I mean, yeah, the argument is it's not even tough to make, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you look at just how close these two teams are, just on this analysis, this breakdown. It really doesn't get much closer than this matchup. So, look, man, for the sake of your passion for this Arizona team,
pick one.
I'm taking Michigan. No. Let's go Arizona.
All right, we got Arizona and Houston. Wow. These are two teams in the same conference, same division. Arizona has beaten this team the last 2 times, and it goes down to the wire every time. And this would be a tough spot. But I feel more if Arizona beats Michigan, I feel more confident that they beat Houston and
That's a great
extend the
point.
streak. Houston beating Michigan State would be awesome. But if it's Houston versus Duke and they beat Duke, then it's like, okay, I see you, Houston. Like, I know you can beat Arizona as you are now, but beating Duke would be something else. But I think if Arizona beats Michigan, I feel way more confident than going against Houston. If Arizona makes it to the title game, they're winning. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Like, especially getting past a team like Michigan, if that's how the bracket falls, and you're able to get a win there. Again, I'm a big momentum guy, and you'd be carrying a hell of a lot of momentum going into this game. So let's take Arizona, but I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If this boiled down to Arizona and Duke,
Yeah.
I know you would still take Arizona.
Yeah,
but do you feel like it's a closer game?
Yeah, this is to be assuming that Duke is health, right? Yeah.
Right.
If they have their big men, at least even if they don't have Foster, I think then yes, it would be a competitive game. Although I think we have the size to bother Boozer, and I think that it would be a great test for a top 3 pick, in that final, if that was the case, and I wouldn't be surprised if Duke is here in the championship game with Arizona too, coming out of this side. But I would pick Arizona still.
Yeah, and the reason I asked you was because like we just don't know what this Duke team is going to look like as this tournament goes on from an injury standpoint. Like if they get healthier, they're probably the best pick to make this, to make the championship game. But it's so contingent on how healthy they are and a whole bunch of other things as well. So in this case, the way our bracket falls, it's an easy choice for us. It's Arizona getting the championship. Marcos, pick it away.
Yes. So now they do this thing. So now, like you guys see, we have Arizona as the champion here. This is awesome. Totally not a biased bracket. We appreciate it. The official BTB bracket here. We submitted the bracket, guys. So stay tuned. We're going to figure out exactly how this ends up turning out for us. So yeah, that was our March Madness bracket, y'all. We appreciate y'all taking the time to go through step by step with us as we analyze game by game as casual college basketball fans. We're definitely not entirely aware. This was a lot of gut feeling. But this was a lot of fun. I don't know. Did you have a lot of fun doing that? I think it was cool. I think our bracket's awesome.
Yeah, I think this is a very behind the back podcast bracket.
Yeah.
It had the mix of Cinderella stories, the mix of Homer, right? I think it was a solid bracket. I like it. It'll be the first one ever that's perfect.
Yes, exactly. So we appreciate you guys for sticking with us on that bracket. And we hope you guys like our new setup. This is going to be something we try to do here in the future. I think it'll be a good way to get both of us more involved. Both of us kind of came up with this on the fly, so we thought it ended up working out pretty well. I don't know. Yeah, it's nice being able to just be right here, in this sense too. Have all the teams in the background. The Kings have been neglected, just like their record and their team. So we kind of had to make sure we showed love to everything about BTB, right? So we'll leave this here, guys. We wanted to do a lot of other things, but this bracket went a long way, so we don't want to keep any more of your time. Stay tuned next week. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about, both basketball and football, and we'll obviously touch base on which picks were terrible, which picks ended up being hits, and where we're at in the tournament by the time we speak next. Obviously, it won't be over, so there'll be a lot to update. So, any final thoughts, Benny, before we head out here?
I'm just stoked March Madness is here, dude.
I know, dude. It's going to be so hype. So, yeah, March Madness will come out. The games will probably be rolling out by the time this is recording. So, you can see how wrong we are after day one if you're listening to this on Friday or a little later on when you do listen. But this was our fun draft process, or our March Madness bracket process. So, we appreciate you guys taking the time to join us with that. So, with that being said, guys, this is episode 124 of the Behind the Back podcast. You can hit us up at behindthebackpod13@gmail.com. For all y'all watching on YouTube, we got our links to the description right up here. And for all y'all audio listeners out there, we got the links to the description down below. Please give us a like, subscribe, rate, review, and follow the show. Let us know who you guys have as your March Madness winners. And, was your bracket similar to ours at all? Did you have some of the same upsets, or do you have some of the same winners? Just feel free to let us know in the comments below. With that being said, y'all, I'm Marcos Conan Negron. Beside me here, as always, is
Ben the Jet Reds.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all. We love y'all. We will talk to you next week.
Peace.